Different link. Hello, hello, everyone who is coming in. Sorry for the delay. Malvin, I'll give you the admin rights pretty soon. Oh, my name appears as Ashley. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
How are you?
We are fine. We are ready.
I can't see them. I'm so sorry for the delay. I'm admitting everyone here. Where are my friends? I want to see them. This is a kids program, so I'm expecting to see lots of kids around. Where are they? Where are they? Where are they? Kids.
We are here. We are here.
I want to hear you. You are not muted. Come on, guys. I want to hear you. I want to see you.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi.
Hello. This program. I'm so sorry for starting so late, but I'm happy that you guys are here, and thank you so much for your patience.
Zama is here too. Dr. Shepherd.
Who is that?
Zama.
Oh, how are you?
Say hello. Say hello. Say hello. Hi.
How are you? Okay, so you guys, I'm letting people in through our. Sorry about that commercial there.
Hello.
So how are you guys?
Well, we are fine.
Okay, who wants to give a special item before we start?
Want to see?
Somebody has to give me a special item. Who wants to give me a special item? Oh, Magabonga wants to give us a special item here on my shoulder. Who else wants to give us a special item? All right, Magabonga will sing for us. Give us a song.
You want to see yourself?
I forgot something.
You must come here.
What do you want? All right, Magabonga will quickly give us a song here before we start.
Music at this time. Jesus loves Jesus.
Why wasn't able to sing this?
Mama, no.
Magabonga doesn't want to sing for us. Come on, Maga.
Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so.
All right. I'll ask Hazel to pray for us. Hazel B. Will you be able to pray for us, Hazel?
Yes.
Okay, pray for us today.
Okay, let us pray. Thank you, Lord, for giving us such a wonderful Sabbath. Please bless the lesson that are going to learn. Amen.
Amen. So my name is Uncle Shepherd, and I'm with Uncle Malvin and also Uncle Peggy. We're going to tell you about the space station, right? Who knows what happened 7 days ago in the USA? What happened?
Took off and And I know the Bob and Doug.
Bob and Doug. Bob and Doug went to space. Luba, tell me, what happened last week, Luba?
A spaceship went to space.
A station went to space, yeah. So we're going to talk about that with Uncle Marvin, myself, and also Uncle Peggy, right? Uncle Marvin, I gave you administrative rights so that you can be able to share your screen and stuff. So I will hand over to Uncle Marvin so that he can tell us more about the spaceship. Maybe Uncle Marvin will also tell you who he is, so that you may know his fascination about the spaceship and also issues that have to do with space. And he has been to the place where the spaceship took off last week. He got into the plane, went to the SA, and then to the Kennedy Space Station. And Marvin, do you have your pictures to share with us about your experience there?
I can check them out now. Yeah, should be.
Yeah, so he will show us his picture so that we can know and see that indeed it's possible that you guys can also go to the space station, right? All right, so I'll ask Uncle Marvin to take over and then speak to you guys.
Good afternoon, kids.
Afternoon.
Like I've said, my name is Uncle Malvin, Zakia and Zion's father. I'm sure some of you know Zakia and some of you know Zion. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to help you go through some of the things that really fascinates me, which is mostly space. And I think it's something that most of you guys like. And I've been privileged enough to, can I have all the mics muted, please, for now?
Okay, let me try and mute them. Using an HP is difficult. I can't even do anything here.
Yeah, because there'll be a lot of background noise and I'm going to struggle, and kids being kids, it's going to be difficult. So like I was saying, I've been privileged enough to actually go to a place where space exploration happens. And most of you know me, they know that I love space because it's something that's really exciting. It fascinates me. And I think most importantly, it helps us understand who God is, you know. So Uncle Shepherd decided us to look at this aspect. And our title today is going to be called God, Kids, and Space Exploration. I think that's clear, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen with you guys. I'm going to start here. Yeah, just a second. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to play a video that I think all of you managed to see.
Okay.
Can you see the video? Can you see the video that's on my screen at the moment?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
The reason why I want to start here is because what sparked this conversation was what happened last week, which was a historic flight to the space station. Then I'll explain all of these things, what the space station is and all of these things. So just bear with me and I'll be able to explain in bits and pieces as to how the whole puzzle fits into all of this, right? So I'm going to play this video and I want you guys to listen attentively, right?
Okay. Yes. You're supposed to say no.
Is the video playing on your side, Marvin?
Yes.
We're only seeing your PowerPoint presentation.
Oh, you see my PowerPoint presentation on?
Yeah, drag
Okay.
the video.
The video is kind of playing right now.
Okay, cool. Just a second.
Okay, yeah, perfect.
Is it?
Perfect. Yeah.
Space station, spacecraft. Douglas William. Stop it! Stop it! I will mess up.
Fiction is a bit poor, man.
And even all of the children. Or just us. Wow.
Bring the HDMI here, let's see.
Oh, now it shows.
Okay. Like I said, our conversation today is about God, kids, and space exploration, right? But I want us to talk about.
Don't hit me. I wasn't hit you so hard. You could even.
I want us to talk about God first, right? And there's a verse in the Bible. We all read the Bible, right?
Yes.
We all read the Bible, right? There's a verse that I'm going to read here, which is in the book of Daniel, right? It says, "But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book, even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and from, and knowledge shall increase." Right? So we get that in the book of Daniel 12, verse 4, right? Now, when you look at the book of Daniel, we know the book of Daniel, most of us, right?
Yes.
Now, in the book of Daniel, the angel is saying to Daniel, Daniel, in the time of the end, knowledge will increase. Meaning to say, we'll be able to understand things that we never used to understand. A lot of things that we previously didn't know will start to be clearer and clearer to us, right? So, God, in his wisdom, we know the first verse in the Bible, right?
Yes.
What is the first verse in the Bible?
Genesis 1, verse 1.
What does it say?
In the beginning, God created
Genesis
heaven and
1, verse 1.
Okay,
God
yes.
created heavens and the earth.
So we see that in Genesis 1, verse 1, it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, right? So we stay on earth. Where do we stay?
on earth.
Right? Yes. Then there is the heavens, right? Where when you go outside and you look, you see the sky, you see the clouds, right? But above the clouds, there is another a layer altogether, you know? I'm not going to go into the complexities of it, but there's another layer. If you go at least maybe 200 kilometers above the Earth's surface, you get to what is called space. It's called what?
Space.
Right. It's space, right? So in space, there is something. Space doesn't have what is called the force of gravity. It's called the what?
Force of gravity.
Now, when you take a stone, when you take a stone and you throw it up, right? When you throw it up, it will come down again, right?
Yes.
That is called the force of gravity.
Yes.
But in space, when you throw a stone, it doesn't come down again, right? So that is the basic science around it, right? So now, today, what we're going to look at is things that happen in space. But before we get to space, I want us to first understand what happens for us here on Earth that enables us to be able to go to space, right? And I'm going to show you a lot of beautiful pictures around what is available in space, right? So there is for you to be able to go to space, you need to study sciences. You need to study what?
Science.
You need to be good with maths. You need to be good with science. You need to be good with your geography. You need to be excellent at school. You need to study hard and be able to understand everything else that happens in our universe, right?
Yes.
So people who study things that happen in space, right, are called, so you get to see your stars, right? So the study of stars is called what? Astronomy. It's called what?
Astronomy.
Yes, so when you want to understand, if you want to understand stars, you study what is called astronomy, right? Then the people who go to space are called astronauts. Are called what?
Astronauts.
Yes, they are called astronauts, right? Because the study is called astronomy, but those that go there are called astronauts, right? So if you want to be an astronaut, you need to be able to study science, right? Are we together so far?
Yes.
Hello?
No.
Okay.
Yes, we're together.
So
yes.
you will see that for us to be able to go to space, most countries have got what is called the space program, right? The space program. So the space program is basically a program where, like a church, we usually have adventurers, pathfinders, you know, youth, and all of those groups. Are we together? So in those that want to study about space, you know, countries, each and every country, most of the advanced countries have got what is called the space program. So a space program is the program that helps a country be able to send its people to space, right? So if we look at the countries that are able, that have got the space program, so we've got Russia, that has got a space program that started in 1956, America in 1958. So there's a 2-year gap between America and Russia, right? Then we've got the Chinese space program that started in the 1950s, but it is only in 2003 that they were able to send their first spaceship out, right? Then the Indians also have got a space program, you know? And South Africa also has got a space program, right? It's called SANSA, and it was established in 2010. So you see that the other countries made their space program way earlier than us, right? But I've got a picture here. You know? I've got a picture here. Now, what this picture shows us, shows us something that I think it's very sad for me. Why? Because if you see, this is the map of the world, right? This is the map of the world.
Yeah.
If you look at the map of the world, you can see the countries that have a space program, right? That are active in space exploration. And if you see the map of Africa, there is what? Nothing. There's nothing in the space in the space program, active space participation in Africa, right? But what we need to understand is that as you guys are growing up, you need to invest your time in understanding science and in understanding things that happen in space, so that in the years to come, 20 years time from now, you are able also to actively participate in the space program, right? You know? So if we look at the first person, who knows the first person to go to space?
Neil Armstrong.
The first person to go to space?
Neil Armstrong.
Is it Neil Armstrong?
Yes.
Yes.
Anki is saying no.
Ah,
I need another hand. Who is the first person to go to space?
Neil Armstrong.
Anki is saying no.
Asha.
Yes, Luba.
What?
Who was the first person to go to space?
Can't see me, Daddy.
Hello, guys, are you there? Ask your parents, ask your parents, ask your parents, ask your mummies and your daddies and your uncles there. Please, quick.
What?
I don't know.
Ask your uncles and your daddies now, please.
Okay.
Enoch. It was God. Enoch.
It is Yuri Gagarin.
Okay.
Fast and Lynn Armstrong.
The first person to go into space is a Russian guy called Yuri Gagarin. Right?
Yuri Gagarin, eh? Okay.
Yuri Gagarin. Now,
Yuri.
Now, I want to explain something here. Can you see the picture that I have here?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. Can you see the picture that I have here?
Huh?
Can you see the picture that I have here?
Yes.
Now, this is the picture of the solar system.
I don't know. The solar system.
Yes, this is the picture of the solar system. This is the picture of the solar system. Can you see where the sun is?
Yes.
Can you see where the sun is?
It's the center of the solar system.
Yes. So
Yes.
you've got the sun, and
Yes.
it's only on the third rail that you get to see the Earth. So between the Earth and the sun, there is two more planets called Venus and Mercury.
Mercury.
Right?
Mercury.
Yes.
So Mercury is the first planet nearest to the sun. Then from Mercury, you've got Venus.
Yes.
Then from Venus, you've got Earth.
Yes.
Now from Earth, you've got Mars.
Yes.
From Mars, you've got from Mars, you've got Jupiter.
Jupiter.
Yes.
Then from Jupiter, you've got Saturn.
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 Okay, let's proceed, guys. Let's proceed. Then from Saturn, you've got Uranus.
Uranus.
Then you've got Neptune.
Uranus.
Two rockets.
Okay, now let's go back.
And they're also
Let's go back. Let's hold it there, guys. Let's hold it there, right? Let's go back to where do we stay? Which planet do we stay?
Earth.
We stay on planet Earth, right?
Yes.
Yes, baby, yes.
Yes.
Explain to them, man. Yeah. So around Earth, can you see that around Earth you've got the clouds?
Yes.
Then just above the clouds, outside the clouds, you've got two spacecrafts. Can you see those spacecrafts?
Yes.
In that spacecraft, you see where that spacecraft is? That area where that spacecraft is called space.
Awesome.
Do you get it?
Yes.
All this area where the planets are not there. Any other place where the planets are not there, it's called space. It's called what?
Space.
Space. So when we say that Yuri Gagarin was the first person to go to space, this is what we mean. We mean he was the first person to go outside the clouds, you know, experience that place where there's no gravity, right?
Okay. Yes.
Then from there, we've got, then from the Earth, yesterday, most of you, if you managed to go outside, you saw the moon, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So the moon is another body that is in the solar system, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. So in the moon, so you look at the moon, check so Neil Armstrong, so Yuri Gagarin went to space in 1961, in April 1961, right? Then Neil Armstrong went to the moon in 1969. Are we together?
Yes.
So we've got Neil Armstrong and Yuri Gagarin, right? So there is a picture of Yuri Gagarin. Can you see Yuri Gagarin?
Yes.
That is the Russian guy who was the first to space.
There is no Gagarin, Teddy.
Can you see Yuri Gagarin?
Yes.
Now, most of us, we've always known that Neil Armstrong was the first person to go to the what? To the moon.
Space.
To the moon. No, there's two things here. There's the space and there's the moon. Right? There's the space and there's the moon.
Can I ask a question?
Okay, let me just finish on this part, then you could ask questions, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, guys. I will give you a chance to ask questions about this program after he finishes presenting, right?
Yes.
So if you have questions, keep them in your mind. We're going to ask questions. I also have questions myself.
Okay.
Okay, so when they went to the moon, it was not only Neil Armstrong. You see the guy to the left?
Yes.
This is Neil Armstrong, right?
Yes.
Then the guy in the center is Michael Collins.
Yes.
Then the guy to the right is called Buzz Aldrin.
Yes.
Right? So these are the first three guys who took off using this spaceship, right? Can you see this spaceship?
Yes. Yes.
This spaceship, they were inside that spaceship and it took off in 1969 and it went to the moon. They landed on the moon and they did. So the reason why we say Neil Armstrong was the first person to get to the earth, right? So Neil Armstrong had his friend, Buzz Aldrin, the guy to the right, right? So Michael Collins remained in the spaceship so that he continued to get it into orbit so that when they're coming back, they won't get lost, right? So when they went, there were 3 people instead of 1. So most of us, we know that it was Neil Armstrong that went to the moon, right? But
yes,
there were 3
yes.
who actually went there. Neil Armstrong was the commander, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he was the first guy to step out, right? Then after that, Buzz Aldrin stepped out also, right? So they were 2,
okay.
right? So you will see those are the names: Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins. Michael Collins, on Apollo 11, he didn't step out of the spacecraft, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, when America started
Maybe
this space
he
program,
did, but no.
Okay.
when America started this, now the reason why we're having this conversation is so that we understand why the event that happened last week is historic, right? Okay, guys, can parents help us to mute most of the kids? Please, guys, please. I'm having terrible feedback noise here. Okay, let me know when you're done. Okay, I won't know, but yeah. So the American space program, right, was in contention with the Russian space program. So they were trying to see who is the first to take men to space. So the Russians managed to beat the Americans to that, right? So they started a program called the Gemini program that had the Mercury and the Apollo program, So Apollo 11 was the one that managed to take men to the moon first. The other moon launches, the other space launches that happened prior to that, some of them were failures. Apollo 8 was a success. Alan Shepard managed to at least get into space and all of that stuff. So when that program ended in 1966, right, another era of space exploration started, called the Space Shuttle mission, right? So in the Apollo mission, which was the Gemini and the Mercury programs, right? So when you use the spaceship, that spaceship, there's only one part that comes back to Earth. Everything else is lost in outer space. Are we together? Then now, from the Gemini program, we come to the Space Shuttle program. So when the Space Shuttle program started, right, they could go to the space. They could go to space, right?
She said what?
They will go to space, right? What? And when they get to space, they will come back. But then the exercise was expensive, right? Then they came in, and because of the increase of knowledge, when you started, we said in the end, knowledge shall increase. So when knowledge increased in space exploration, we saw them building what we call reusable spaceship. This spaceship that you can actually use, nothing gets lost. So last week, when Bob and Doug went to the International Space, I'll explain what the International Space Station is, right? So when they went to the International Space Station, right, the rockets, the spaceship that took them there, that managed to take them out into the orbit, came back, and we saw it landing, right? Right. So when we saw it landing, it means that there is nothing that gets wasted. The only thing that gets wasted gets used is fuel and nothing else. You know, all the other things don't get lost, right? So what we are seeing here is we are starting a new era of space exploration that will allow even a person like us to be able to go to space, because it's now affordable, it's cheaper. It's cheaper for the countries. Why? Because we can reuse the spaceships that we actually are using, right? So that's why last week's space launch was actually historic. Now, to add more to that spaceship, now NASA, which is the company that is responsible for the American space program, last sent men to space in 2011. All this other time, they've been sending men to space, but not using their own spaceship. They've been using the Russian spaceships. Right?
Excuse me, I've got a question.
Okay, I'm gonna take questions later, guys. Let me just round up.
Okay.
Yes. So then from there, they've said because the space program is quite expensive. So then they said, now we're not gonna run the space program on our own. We're gonna hire private companies to do it. So then there's a company called SpaceX that was launched in 2002 by a South African guy called Elon Musk. By who? A South African guy called Elon Musk. So Elon Musk started this company called SpaceX. So SpaceX is what took men again to space after about 9 years from the expiry of the Space Shuttle program. So the Space Shuttle program, I'll show you what the Space Shuttle looks like, right? You know, I just want to give you context of what the whole thing looks like. So now we see, this is the crew of the Space Shuttle program, STS-135 crew, right? And you see that in that space program, you get to see ladies also participating, women participating in the space program. The space is not only for men. Are we together? Even women participate in space activities. So you can see here now, this is an all-female crew that is in the space station. So wait, just hold, give me a second. Give me a second, guys. Okay, sorry guys, I had to attend to something quick. So we see that in space, right? So in this space that we're seeing here, can you see where the Earth is? There's that spaceship hanging over there. Here.
Yes.
Here. This is where
Yes.
the International Space Station is, right? This is where the International Space Station is. This is where Bob and Doug went that other day, right? So when they get to space,
Douglas Dale.
when they get to space, right, they do what is called extravehicular activities. They do what are called extravehicular activities, meaning to say they can actually walk in space. Can you see how cool that is? Can you see an astronaut there wearing a spacesuit and is just hanging there? You know? Why? Because there is no force of gravity, right?
Okay.
Yes, and he's working on that space station. So there's another astronaut there. They are doing some work at the International Space Station, right? So what we are seeing here, we're seeing a very spectacular view of what the International Space Station is looking like. And you are able then to see Earth from above. You know, if you've been to an aeroplane, you won't really be seeing Earth because you haven't gone out of the atmosphere, you know. But when you go outside the atmosphere, you can actually see Earth as it were now. So now you are seeing clouds on top and everything else underneath, you know. So there is the space. So we get to see an astronaut there doing a spacewalk. You know, he's walking in space. Can you see how cool that is? You know, so there's another Russian astronaut called Sergei performing a spacewalk in Expedition 38 in 2013, which was another space shuttle program. You know, so you see. You know, just imagine you are able just to float outside, you know, you can do anything. It's beautiful, it's cool, you know. Then from there, what do you want to see? I'll take you to another video that I want us to understand when we're saying, let me stop this share and share this video with you again. Now, the question has always been to say, how does someone take how does someone wash their hair or run or take a bath in space? You know, I'm sure you've asked yourselves those questions before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you enable me so that I can share my screen? I need to share my screen again.
Excuse me, but isn't it that in space there is no gravity, which means it's not like Earth, meaning we get to float on air?
Yes, that's what you're actually seeing in these images that I just showed you recently.
Okay.
Yeah, you see the astronauts were just outside and just performing their activities just outside space. They're just outside the space station.
What again after this?
Sorry? I need to share. I can't continue without sharing because everything is on presentation here. Give me the administrative rights.
Make me host again. Make me host after this. After I start sharing, make me host.
Okay.
Daddy.
Also, maybe you need to tell us how do they use the bathroom. I hear they drink their
can you see the screen that I'm showing you now?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
There's someone with a terrible background noise.
Yes. Yep. Yes.
Background noise. Okay, you guys are fine, isn't it?
I think she's going to just recorded. How? Going to record. Already recorded. Maybe hold it.
So on that video, we managed to see how someone washes their hair in space, right?
Yeah.
Right. Now, the last video that I'm going to show you in the interest of time, can you mute your mics, please, guys?
Just so that I can mute them for you.
Okay.
I know how to make daddy.
Okay, can I play my last video, right? Now, this last video is actually what we just gonna discuss from now henceforth, right? So we get to see these guys already were inside Cassidy and the two Russian cosmonauts, this guy, and that's Cassidy, the American astronaut, that was already in the space station. So when Dragon, the spaceship that took off last week, got to the International Space Station, it docks with existing space station, and they tunnel into the space station. And I'm going to show you a video here, then I can explain later. So there is Doug. There's Bob. They've arrived in the International Space Station. That was Bob, then Doug. And now, can you see how they move in the International Space Station? It's not as free as you would expect here, you know? You can just literally hang in space, you know? So now, you're gonna see them talking. you're gonna hear them talking to the crew. That is actually the one that helped them get to space. You know, so the astronauts are just a tiny part of everyone else who helps them to get to space.
Why are you saying all the roads we can?
Okay. I'm back now. So you can see out of all of those videos, you could see that when you're in space, there's no force of gravity and it's zero gravity. So you can do space activities in a way that you wouldn't otherwise do them here on Earth. And because of that, you know, it's exciting that if you look at this astronaut here, he's just outside there hanging, you know, he doesn't need to stand on any ground for him to be able to, you know, move and stuff like that, you know. So when astronauts get to the International Space Station, right, which is, this is how it looks like inside, you know. So when they get there, they are tasked with a lot of, so they are basically engineers of space, you know. They get there, there's some experiments that they need to take, there's some activities that they need to do, and they have to help the other guys that were there and be able to help us on Earth understand our outer universe better and all, you know. I think because of time and that we lost a lot of time before we started, I'm not gonna go through the rest of my presentation, you know. There was Shepard wanted to say something.
I wanted to ask you to give me the powers.
No.
Is that the end of your presentation?
Yeah, I'll stop it here. I'll stop it here. I'm not gonna go further than that because.
So, I'll ask those who have questions. Either you lift your hand on the screen. If Marvin, you could take down your so that I can see everyone. You can lift your hand up on the screen, or you can lift your hand through the platform, right? I have Luba. Luba, you have a question? Luba? Yes, ask a question, Luba.
South Africa.
Luba, I can't hear you. What's the question?
The planets in our solar system.
What is a solar system?
You told us.
Help me to answer the question. And then I have Ruth Chakwinya. That should be Chelsea. Chelsea Chakwinya, what's your question? Chelsea?
Was Margarine
Was Yuri.
was Yuri a man or woman?
Okay, was Yuri a man or woman? The first Russian to go to space. Steve McConney.
What is your name? What is your
Me.
You say there are 8 planets in the solar system. That is not a question. It's just saying stuff, okay?
Wait, yeah. Go.
How many days does it take for them to go to space?
How many days does it take for them to go to the space? Peggy and Marvin, I hope you're getting those questions for me. Hazel P is up on the platform. May I have your question, Hazel P?
How many moons do we have in the universe, in the whole universe?
How many what?
Moons.
How many moons do we have in the whole universe? Herald?
One.
Herald, what's your question?
Okay. So since they say it's cheap for us to go outer space, am I right?
Yes.
Okay. Then we're allowed to go outer space to see the other planets and the space station.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen.
But you have to pay a certain amount of money. It's not free. It's gonna be cheaper because of
Yes,
the
I got that.
This is
It's not
made of.
free. It's not that free. It's not free. That's
You have to. John, parents, if possible for next time, I don't know if there's going to be next time. Use your children's names on your Zoom so that we can call children to you. John's children.
My name is Siwanga Jeremy. How did they build that space station up there?
How did
That's
they
a good
build
question.
the station up there? Brilliant question. Leah.
I just want to ask, how do they cook?
How do they cook? Okay, these are the questions that I have. Uncle Peggy and Malvin, I don't know which one you will pick, but you can help me to answer these questions.
I also want
I was trying to do it quickly, but yeah, the one that the first one was Yuri a male or female? He was a male. We get the first female to go to space was Valentine Tereshkova. If I got it right? Yeah, she was there in June 1963. Did you get that, Chelsea?
Yes.
Yes. Then for the moons, sure, we have more than 200 moons. We have more than 200 moons.
200 moons.
So how many moons do we have on Earth?
On Earth, we only have one moon.
One.
Yes.
Excuse me, hello? If there's 200 moons, meaningly, are they 200 planets?
No.
No. You have Earth, which is one moon. You have Jupiter, which is quite a number of moons as well. So we have different planets, and other planets have been classified to be moons as well. Like Pluto has been, if you are old school like me, we grew up knowing that Pluto was a planet, but it was declassified to be a moon. So those are what we call the 200 moons. Over 200 moons. They don't classify to be a planet, hence they are classified as a moon.
Okay, thank you. Malvin, do you have any responses to some of the questions?
Okay, how do you build the space?
That space up there.
Yeah, it's a very complicated process. So what happened was that started in 1998. It took them about 2.5 years to build it. You know, so what they would do is they would take over the they would take over one module and put it up there and take another one. It's like building a house. You don't build a house just overnight, one day with just bricks only. You start with the foundation, you know, then you get your walls, your windows, your ceiling, and you paint it at the end, right? So what we are seeing now at the space station is actually 20 years of work. The reason why we need to send astronauts in there is we need to maintain it, to keep it in a stable state that we're able to use it. That's why we're always sending astronauts out there, you know? So unfortunately, I didn't show you, I didn't think this question was gonna come up. I was gonna show you how each and every module of the International Space Station was built. Now, the International Space Station was not built by one space agency. It was built by 5 space agencies, which is the US Space Agency, NASA, then the Russian, then the European, the Japanese, and the Canadian space program, you know. So it's a consortium of our space agencies that came together and said, let us build one space station that will be able to give us, you know, all these complexities that we have under one roof. And that's why we see that for the past 9 years, America hasn't been able to send their own astronauts from American soil. They've been sending them from Kazakhstan and Russia. Why? Because they were looking for a technology that was more friendly and more cost effective, and that happened last week. And we saw it when the other space, when the spaceship took over, having been done by SpaceX. I don't know if that answers the.
Magabongo, you have a question?
Thank you, Uncle. Okay.
Unmute yourself, Magabongo. Marvin, please give me
I think I know the name of the rocket ship Bob and Doug took off from.
Do they use?
What's the name?
Falcon 9.
Oh.
Yeah, the Falcon 9 rocket, yes.
And I know which one came out.
Yes, which one came out?
Dragon.
That's excellent.
All right, Lesego, I can see you. Lesego, you have a question. Melvin, please make me host. There are people who want to get in.
Where are you? What's your name?
Click on Shepherd Impofu. Click on the. Click on me and keep.
Hello, my name is
Lesego, what's your question?
But I'm trying to check here.
Wait, guys. Can I ask Lesego to speak?
You are the host now, Shepherd.
My name is Bellato. Which heaven is next to the earth?
Which heaven is next to the earth?
Which planet?
Which planet is next to the earth?
Someone don't see Mars.
Next to the earth. Okay.
Which planet is next to the heaven?
Which planet is next to the heavens? Okay.
Yes.
Nothing.
That is unknown. Yes.
You've got
Still
Lloyd.
unknown.
Lloyd,
they'll see.
Lloyd, can you speak?
Then we are talking.
My name is Divine.
Okay.
What kind of fuel do they use?
What kind of fuel do they use?
Yes.
Country.
Who else has a question? Hand up if you have a question. Going once, going twice. Hazel B, you have a question. What's your name, Siri?
My name is Hazel.
Hazel. And then Hazel, can I ask you a question?
So when a rocket explodes in space, so what happens to the people which are inside the rocket?
They die.
When the rocket explodes, what happens to people inside the rocket? Kaz, do you have a question for me?
How do you land a rocket?
How do you land a rocket on space?
Yes, how do you land it?
Okay, and then
On
Makoni.
space.
All right, I got that. Makoni, Stephen Makoni, I'll give you a chance now. You can ask your question.
How many days does it? How many days does it take for?
How many days does it take to travel to space?
Yes.
Oh yeah, that one wasn't answered. Okay, Marvin, please. And
Okay,
then
it takes.
Godfrey, your hand was up. Just one moment. Godfrey, your hand was up.
What do you want?
Godfrey.
I got a question.
All right, let's answer the questions that we got. Then I'll.
Okay.
I got a question.
Now, can I answer those quite quickly in the interest of time? Number one, the first one is what fuel is used. Hey guys, are we all together? Now, what fuel do you use to power rockets? It's called rocket propellant. Now, rocket propellant is a mixture of a lot of liquids and gases, so you could get liquid hydrogen. You could it's a mixture of elements, right? But it's simply called a rocket propellant, right? The very same way we put fuel in our cars, in the rocket they put rocket propellant. Then the second one, how long does it take to get to space? It varies as to where they are. Okay, how do you land in space? It's not called landing, it's called docking. Why? Because you don't on land, a plane, when it's landing, it lands on the runway, right? But in space, because it wasn't in that motion that you get with an aeroplane, it comes in and docks, So this is the space station, and this is the spacecraft, right? So it comes in and comes in like this, right? And when it docks, that's how it lands. So it's not really called landing, it's called docking, right? Then number 3, how long does it take to get to space? Now, if you're going to the space station, right, it can take you 10 minutes to get into space. But to go to the International Space Station, it took them 19 hours. It varies because it depends on where they are docking, right? Number 3, how long does it take to get to the moon? Now, it takes about 3 days to get to the moon. How long does it take to get to Mars? Because in 2012, we launched Curiosity from Kennedy Space Center, and it got to Mars. It took 8 months to get to Mars.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Thank you. Who else has a question? I think we have to end it now. We are finishing our parents' data. Herald, is your hand up? No, it's not.
And it's not. I forgot to put it down.
I think there was a question on the planets. Which planet is close to Earth?
And Earth.
Yes. So from let me just start from those who are curious now. From the sun, the first planet we have is Mercury. Then the second planet that we have is Venus. Then the third planet that we have is our own planet, which is planet Earth. Then the next planet which comes is the planet Mars. So which means Earth is between Venus and Mars, right? Then after Mars, we've got planet Jupiter. Then you've got this planet Saturn. You've got Uranus. You've got Neptune. And then we have a moon that we call Pluto. So that is basically our solar system.
Then the nearest will be Mars.
I think, children, I want you to tell me, what does this mean about God? What when you look at what's happening, what sense do you get about God? What does it mean about God? When you look at things.
Uncle, I have a question.
Okay, what's your question?
My question is, if you had to test something in space or on the moon, how would you do it?
If you want to
test anything on the moon or in space, how would you do it?
If you want to taste. Get the question properly. If you want to taste. Melvin, did you get the question?
Is it test or test in terms of food or test in terms of scientific experiments? Because if it's scientific experiment, that's all they do in the International Space Station.
I have a question.
Guys. Also, I've heard that sometimes their sweat or urine.
I have a question.
Okay, I'm coming to. They do specific separation of their urine or of their sweat, where they extract water from that and drink it. How far true is that, and how possible is it? How clean is it? because I've heard that the water is cleaner than spring water that we buy from the shops. Who else has a question? Leah? Leah, I can see you. Hazel, I'm coming to you. Leah, what's your question?
You forgot me.
Yes, what's your question?
My question is, how did they cook? How do they cook?
Oh, how do they cook in space? Yeah, sorry. Mr. Chiume. Chiume.
Say you're fine.
We're fine.
Okay, thank you. Hazel P.
Question is, how do they survive in space, but while there is lack of gravity?
There's lack of gravity. How do they survive when there's no gravity? Who else has a question?
I have a question.
Okay, Magapongo, what's your question?
They're not just 8 planets in our solar system. There are also 5 more.
You okay? When did you
I know what they're called.
I heard of a planet which was discovered lately, but then they didn't have a name for it. Is that true?
It was a planet that was discovered just recently.
Those are called the
I have a
dwarf.
question.
The dwarf planets are their names, but I don't know all of their names.
Right, so we covered in terms of questions, everyone?
Yes. I have a question.
All right. Who is that?
I have a question. Me.
Mlanjani, please put your camera. I want to see you. What's your question? Ask your question, Mlanjana. Yes, what's your question, boy?
Hello.
What?
Jata boy.
Is running low.
I didn't get you. What did you say?
My question.
I've got another question.
How many minutes do they go to space?
How many minutes do they?
Go to space.
How many minutes do they take to go to space? Okay, let's take those questions. Just answer them. Uncle Malvin and Peggy, please help me.
Okay. I'm just trying to work on the questions on the chat room, but there's a question which was asked about the latest planet. We have got the planets that we call the exoplanets, which are outside our solar system. And so far, I think we've discovered, Marvin, you correct me, I think it's over 1,000 exoplanets. It's more than that, exoplanets. So we keep discovering them. I was quickly trying to remember the latest name, but now they don't give a name, they give them a code. So that they keep naming them as they discover them, they give them name codes. Yeah, I think you can finish the other questions.
The other question is, how long does it take to get to space? Now, I'll answer that in 3 or 4 sections, and I'll just give you a rundown of that. Now, to get to space, you can take 10 minutes just to get into space, right? But to dock with the International Space Station, depending on the speed of the spacecraft, right? So to dock with the International Space Station, it can vary from 5 hours to 24 hours.
Okay.
Right? Then last week, when Doug and Bob docked at the International Space Station, they took 19 hours to dock at the International Space Station. To go to the moon, you need about 3 days to go to the moon. To go to Mars, which is the nearest planet, you need about 8 months traveling at a speed of at least 12,000 miles per hour just to get there in 8 months.
I've got another question.
Yes.
Who was the first female in space?
The first female in space was Valentina Tereshkova. That was in 1963, the Russian.
Valentina
Tereshkova.
Has there been a black astronaut up there?
Yes, there is a in one of the slides that I showed you in STS 131, STS 151, there were there's a lot of black astronauts. You know, in one of the pictures that I showed you, there was there was black female for that matter. There's a lot of black astronauts. There's a lot of them.
So these boys and girls can also be astronauts and go to space.
Yes.
What do they need to do? What do they need to study in order to be eligible to go to space and to be scientists and all these things?
So if you remember my opening words, I think I touched it in the first 5-10 minutes of my talk to say this is a highly scientific experience and exercise. So you would need to be very good in sciences. You need to be good in your sciences and your maths, your geography, and again, space is a multidisciplinary thing. You need to be kind of like an all-rounder and understand a lot of other subjects.
Are the astronauts that are kids?
No, not really. No, you can't be an astronaut and be a kid.
Okay,
you need to train for it. You need to train for it.
But has a kid gone into space?
No.
How do they cook?
Why?
How do they cook?
Why?
That's what I was trying to explain before you interjected there. To say you need to you train for it. I mean, when Neil Armstrong got to the moon, he was 38 years old. You know, so he had been training for over 15 years. You know, training so that he gets to space. Now we've got a South African guy that went to space called Mark Shuttleworth. You know, so Mark Shuttleworth went to space. He spent a lot of time in the Russian space agency in where he prepared to go to space. You know, it cost him about $20 million US for him to go into space as a space tourist. You know, so
you paid to go into space.
He paid because he was not part of the program. You know, he paid because he was not part of the program. But if you're part of this program, your country pays for you. If your country has got a space program, it enrolls astronauts, right? And those astronauts, when they get flight assignments to go in to this International Space Station, remember the International Space Station is not owned by one country. It's a consortium. It's a combination of different space agencies. Like I said initially, what makes this International Space Station is NASA, which is the American space program, the Russians, the Japanese, the Canadian, and the European space agents, you know, but we don't have an African space agency that participates in the international space. But now, with all of the advances in technology and where Africa is heading to, we are starting to make inroads into International Space Station and the space program, you know.
Cool.
All right.
How do you cook in space? Yeah, so they take food there. They don't have to cook anything. So they take enough food to last them for the duration of their mission. So that's why when they go there, they go with what is called a payload. A payload is actually the goods that they take to space. So it's food that's already prepared, that's going to last for a very long time, and they just eat it just like that.
Is there any discovered alien?
I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to say yes or no on that one. I don't know.
Which I got a question.
Yes, the boss.
Normally when you make a space group, like NASA, who is the boss, or who's the boss of the group or something?
Now, so a space program has got what are called administrators, right? So these administrators are basically like your boss, you know. So at the moment, the USA, let's take for example NASA. NASA has got administrators. So the administrator that we have now at NASA is called Jim Bridenstine. you know. So he is the one who hands over the flight assignments to the astronauts. So they change, you know, just like presidents. When a new president comes in, he nominates a new space administrator. So when Obama was the president of USA, there's a guy called Charlie Bolden who was the administrator at NASA.
All right, all right.
So whenever there's a new president, there will be a new space commander, per se.
I think we've got one interesting question there. Is there life in space?
There's life in space.
Life in space. Yes, there's life in space. You can stay in space. Maybe the question could have been, is there life on Mars? Right?
Excuse
well,
me.
it's a, yes.
Can they stick together but not floating? But not float away. Can they stick together but not float away?
They won't float away, because what they usually do is they hook themselves to the spaceship to avoid them drifting away too far from the space station. So if you look, if you ask your dad to show you a picture of a moonwalk, you will see them hooking themselves all the time when they go out for an extravehicular activity, you know, so that they don't away too much from the spaceship.
You see these belts, they used to tie themselves,
you know,
to the spaceship.
Yeah, there's a tiny hook that they use.
Okay.
All right, so guys, this was just an experiment to see.
One more question, please.
Okay, this is the last question. I'm not going to take any more questions.
Okay. There are a lot of videos that I've seen whereby there's when people are in a spaceship, there's a button that they press that makes them float. How does that happen? And is it true?
Melvin, do you know the pattern she's speaking about?
Look, I think what you are seeing there is you will see them performing a lot of experiments in there. Unfortunately, we couldn't exhaust everything, you know, and in the interest of time. So we could have explained more around the activities that actually happen at the International Space Station. What do they do in their day-to-day activities? So when you say there's a pattern, of course, there's just a lot of patterns, but they're just control patterns, you know. It's not like there's a pattern that you press for you to float in space. You're already floating by virtue of it not having the gravity that we have here on Earth.
All right, guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I don't know, this was just a once-off thing that I wanted to do with you, I don't know if there's anything that you're curious about that you want us to discuss next week. But I'm also interested on how the brain functions, on how the heart functions. Did you know that if you cut a child's brain, please don't cut your sister's and cry. If you cut a child's brain, it will grow back again. Do you know that? So I'm interested.
What?
But how do you get the link of when you're going to have a next discussion?
And then the mother slaps and then says, "I when I
discuss it, are you going to be here?
Open your head.
We can discuss sciences, we can discuss economics, we can discuss humanities, whatever you want.
Yeah.
If you're not interested,
will they be same ID and passwords?
No. We're going to create a new one. I think we had problems today with this one since we were sharing with some people. So they wouldn't allow us to use it before they finish their thing. So if we want something, I want you to tell me what you want to learn.
Okay.
So that we can look for someone who can talk to us about that.
Okay, babe. All right.
You want to learn about, you know everything about coronavirus, eh?
About angels.
Yes.
About angels.
Yes.
Okay. No, about angels.
What about angels? Do you want someone to come and show you pictures of angels and those things?
Yes. Yeah, we do.
No one has, no
But
one has,
I'm looking forward to the praying.
yeah?
Pictures of angels.
No,
Pictures
we
of
don't have those.
angels.
We don't have those. They'll be difficult to get. Hey, Lesego, what do you want us to talk about?
They say they want to know what happened when the devil was moved from heaven.
No.
No. Okay. What do you want to learn about? What do you want to learn about?
Okay.
Okay, mommy is allowed to ask what to learn about.
Yes, you are.
Okay, mommy would like to learn about heaven. What how is heaven going to be for the kids?
Okay.
Suggesting, I suggest we learn about the equipment they use to go to space.
The what?
The equipment they use to go to space.
Yeah.
Equipment used to go to space.
Yeah.
Okay. Stevie, who is calling me? I didn't.
It's Matanire.
Okay, Matanire.
It's Mapi.
Yes. Okay, I think we need to learn more about space in relation to God's Bible word. For example, if the Earth moves, the Earth moves an inch to the sun, what will happen? For example, the Earth keeps on rotating, but we are not falling. And pointing out how powerful God is in terms of what He created. So I think we need, may you kindly please do a lesson linking God's creation linking that creation in God.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm clear on that.
Yeah, that's.
I want to learn about oceans and animals in the sea.
But I think that we must continue the space next week.
Wait. Your daughter had her hand up. What does she want to discuss?
I think
5% you have to leave.
the three angels message.
But it's not you.
What do you want to learn about next week?
I want to learn about ocean.
Let's say it on the phone.
Animals in the sea.
Oceans.
Learn about.
Say it.
Okay, can I go, Shepard?
Learn about Jesus.
Yeah, I will
Can we learn about the 7 wonders of the world?
But you want to learn about rocket ship.
To Shepard.
Yes.
I want to learn about a great time. We had a great time. Mama.
Hi guys.
About what?
Mama,
Are we done? We've raised.
Can we learn about the 7 wonders of the world?
I know
What's a wonder?
Somebody is calling me. Is it Mapi?
Yes, I was suggesting, can the time for these presentations be shifted to after the supper school classes so that the kids also get something during that time? Before divine service.
Oh, during divine service.
Oh, no, I mean, isn't we have supper school classes at 9? Yes. They're at 9:30. Then their program before divine service. Or their program after divine service before or afternoon sessions.
Okay, yeah, we have to work around issues of timing, I think. Yeah, that's important.
Yes.
Because
Thank
most of
you.
our divine services are not even made for kids anyway.
Yes.
Okay. So
Thank
guys,
you.
do you know how to save money as kids? Can you save money to buy something like next year?
Can you talk?
You want to learn about
Yes. Yes. I think I know.
because what I want us to do
Say
was
them in our piggy bank.
career oriented.
We take that's Anissa's. She said okay.
Okay. So I've noted your suggestions, guys. So we will try maybe next week.
I'm
To have something for you, right?
Yes.
All right. Who wants to pray for us before we leave?
We need one.
Gonna pray for us, baby.
Who wants to pray for
Okay,
us?
Zaki is gonna pray.
Okay, Zaki. Let's close our eyes and pray. Pray, Zaki.
Pray, Zaki. Pray.
I love you. Never be like you. That's mamas and babies. That's our teachers. Help us to be in Jesus. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. It's been wonderful.
Amen.
We really enjoyed your questions, right?
No.
Send our
Amen. Daddy. Bye.
Thank
Bye. And we have to
Bye.
Bye. See you next week.
Say bye, Ben.
Bye.
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 Bye. Cheers. Cheers. Cheers.
The first time I tried to release my camera, it was kind of dead.
Bye. You don't want to leave.
Bye. Maybe I'll not live for 20 years.
You don't want to leave.
I'll not leave. For
Mr. Mnikwa.
Mr. Nikwa.
Oh, he's disappeared.
Hi. La 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 la.
The number swear edges.
Hello.
Peggy manji 3 angels messages when Zanjan. We have to look for the pastors, lad. And pictures of the angels.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That one for. Let me get up maybe tomorrow. I'll check research on something tomorrow. Just that is the kids.
But again, the equipment used to go to space and space in relation to creation, why don't we fall? What happens when you get closer to the sun?
Boom. Yeah, so like looking at the space facts, the Earth rotation and stuff. Yeah, I touched that one.
7 wonders of the world, yeah, number of Victoria Falls.
Well, they've changed now, but yeah, it includes Victoria Falls. Because now they've added more.
They added more.
Yeah, they sort of like moved away from the issue here, 7 wonders, and just say to the wonders of the world. But if you're looking at the 7 wonders of the world, they've sort of changed now because they've discovered more places which are more fascinating. Like they've declassified like the issue like the Victoria Falls to say it's just in geographical and tonton. They've got some places which they cannot really explain. Yeah, well. So I think that can be an interesting one that we can do.
Yeah?
That can be an interesting one that we can do, the 7 wonders of the world.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, we'll speak offline, see what could be done.
All right.
And see what we can do. How is heaven going to be like for kids? I think this would be fascinating also. Considering these guys are going to grow as adults.
It's gonna be awesome!
Yeah.
It's gonna be amazing for kids in heaven.
Mr. Leander. Leander just left his phone on and disappeared.
Yeah.
Okay then, guys.
We start offline, eh?
Silent guys, Kayla, Yon, Lisa, Sammy. I don't know why you're quiet.
I think some that just left. They thought they left the meeting. They just.
Oh, all right then.
All right, sure. So we'll talk offline.
Speak offline.